Dear Aunt Flo is a podcast about bad periods, and I'm your host, Elisa Michelle. Every month, we'll dive deep into my own vaginal monologues as I discuss my journey with endometriosis and share stories that we wish someone would have warned us about sooner. I am your new period BFF, so let's get comfortable speaking about our cycles. Hello. Welcome back to another episode of Dear Aunt Flo. It feels really good to be back in like a more consistent vibe, a more consistent groove. Have you been keeping up with the latest episodes? If you haven't, go back, check them out. If you're just joining us, welcome to the period party. Okay, this is a podcast where I talk about my experience with endometriosis and my period in general, which affects my entire life. So I talk about it all. But yeah, if you're just joining us, welcome. I invite you to go back to the beginning, to season 1 of the podcast, and listen to my endo story and how we got here. I can't believe we're on season 2. Like that's kind of crazy. I haven't even made a post about that yet. I am behind. Anyway, if you are watching on YouTube, I hope that you are subscribed while you're watching. Also, like, comment, interact with me. If you are listening via Apple Podcasts or Spotify Podcasts, hello. I hope you like the sound of my voice. I invite you to leave a review at the end. Let me know how you found me. Let me know what you think about the podcast. Let me know about your experiences and if this is helpful in not feeling alone. Yeah. Now, let's get to our letter so that we can get into today's episode. Dear Aunt Flo, you have overstayed your welcome yet again, and I need you to clock in, okay, for 3 to 5 days and then clock the F out after. Also, I don't know where this left side pain came from, but you got to get out of here too. Okay, sincerely fed up, Elisa Michelle. Yeah, y'all, my cycle, I'm currently on day 9 of my cycle, and I'm still bleeding as though it's day 3, maybe 4. Today's a little more like a day 4. So it's a little lighter, but I have been consistently heavy throughout this entire cycle, and I don't understand what's going on right now, but I digress. Let's get into what we're supposed to be talking about today, and that is all the shitty details of my bathroom chronicles. All puns intended. So prepare yourself for a lot of TMI. I am going to be talking about a lot of poop. So I think it's useful though, because there might be someone out there thinking, oh my God, I'm dealing with all of these things. And I didn't know there were other people that were also dealing with all of these things. So I'm going to be the person, I'm going to take one for the team, and I'm going to talk about my bathroom chronicles so you don't have to talk about yours. Also, a wild statistic that I read in this book that I got for my birthday, it's called Black Women's Wellness. I'll post it in the show notes. I'll post a link in the show notes or a link in the description box if you're watching on YouTube. But 15 to 70% of women deal with endometriosis. 15 to 70. Why is that such a wide range? That's such a large coverage of women who are dealing with endometriosis, and yet no one knows of its origin or how to cure it yet. What will it take for this country to really value women? That's a soapbox for another day. Okay, I want to talk about the digestive system and how endometriosis can affect more than just your uterus, right? So I have since learned the difference between IBS, which is irritable bowel syndrome, and endometriosis of the bowel. There's a difference, and it's important that you know this, and I'm going to talk about everything in this episode so that you can determine for yourself how to move forward and what you need to do and what you may or may not be experiencing. Because far too often women are told that they have IBS when they actually have endometriosis on their bowel. And that's important to know the difference. Okay, so let's go back into time, circa 2018, when all of this digestive stuff or all the period stuff really started happening with me. I started noticing like little things, like how gassy I would be after eating certain snacks, especially like Ritz crackers or Oreos or like those packaged like peanut butter sandwich cookies or crackers, whatever you call them. And then lunch meat. Deli lunch meat threw me for a loop, okay? Because I would literally have a sandwich for lunch and then eat some crackers, eat those little peanut butter sandwich crackers. And then 5 minutes later, I'd be in the bathroom. And then having to experience this at work, hella embarrassing. Okay, because I was always in the bathroom after eating. So I started looking into gluten and dairy, and I figured I somehow developed an intolerance or some type of food allergy. And I've been drinking dairy my entire life, okay? My whole life. So for it to all of a sudden just turn on me, one, is rude, and two, why? Like what was the reason, right? And I know we go off on tangents and we talk about how terrible the food system is in America, and I wholeheartedly agree. But I was just like, to go from not having issues to all of a sudden having issues, like something else was going on. So I began to make little changes. I switched to lactate milk. I stopped eating bread. I checked every single label for everything gluten related and switched to gluten free. And this was the hardest change for me, because if you know me, you know how much I love bread. Like, I love bread. I am a bread girly through and through. I have it with almost every meal, breakfast, lunch, dinner. Find me with some bread, okay? Toast me so it's like almost like burnt, okay? Almost burnt. And then you put the spreadable butter on top and it just melts into the crevices, the granules of the bread. Ha! Chef's kiss, okay? Chef's kiss. So I was in shambles. Have you ever had gluten-free bread? It's trash. It's trash. It's mostly like frozen. You got to keep it frozen. And then when you try to like thaw it so that you can toast it, it breaks apart. It never toasts properly. You can't get that almost burnt toast look, feel, there's no, the texture. Oh, okay. I reduced the amount of processed and packaged foods that I was eating. I found alternative, healthier options. And then eventually I ended up having to switch to plant-based milks, even though lactate wasn't doing it, okay? I switched to plant-based milks like Almond Breeze or Silk, which now that I know it wasn't the gluten and it was the inflammatory oils, because everything that causes inflammation for someone with endo intensifies that inflammation, okay? So certain dairy-free plant-based milks are still not great for you, because the number one ingredient in most of those packaged processed milks is canola oil or vegetable oil. Ain't no vegetables in that oil. And canola oil is a very inflammatory oil, a highly inflammatory oil. It's not good for your body. So I had to, again, find other alternatives beyond that. But anyway, after all this, I was still having issues, okay? So they say for every meal that you eat, you should also have a bowel movement thereafter. So if you're eating 3 times a day, you should be pooping 3 times a day. Now, this might not be the case for everyone, but you should at least be pooping daily, okay? At the very least. I'm not a doctor, okay? I'm not a doctor, but yes, you should at least be pooping daily. My case, I was using the bathroom beyond the 3 times a day. Like, no matter how many times I ate or did not eat, your girl was in the bathroom. I don't know where the poop came from, but I was in the bathroom and I'm just like dumbfounded. And then, don't let me be on my period. Period poops is a whole nother topic of conversation, but regardless, I was using the bathroom way too much. So let's fast forward to 2022 when I decided enough was enough. At this point, I was experiencing the excessive sessions in the bathroom, but now constipation has entered the chat. right? So I saw doctors about my symptoms. I explained how unusual it was for me. I explained my dietary changes. I explained my period issues and how I never had issues with food before, but it was starting to affect my day to day. So one doctor would refer me to a GI doctor who basically was just like, take some stool softener and stop wasting my time. And I'm just like, does no one want to get to the root cause of these things? Other doctors gave me blood work, took labs, and when everything came back normal, they would always just say, oh, it's just IBS. You just have irritable bowel syndrome. And there was nothing that they could do about it. It's just something that I have now, that I have to live with now. Two things about an Aquarius. One, we don't like being restricted, and two, we don't like to be told what to do. So you're not finna slap a label on me with no explanation and no course of action to fix the situation. I'm not about that life. So at the end of 2022, I started taking matters into my own hands. And I planned a juice cleanse to reset my gut. Now, cleanses were and still are all the rage. Would I recommend them without full research? No, not at all. But I did a juice cleanse. I bought all the fruits and veggies that your heart could desire. I planned out recipes. And for the last week of December, I decided to drink nothing but juice. So I would fill 32-ounce jars, mason jars, full of beet juice or carrot juice, celery juice. They were so good too. They were so good. Good enough to where I was like, that week turned into a month. I was like, we can keep going, okay? I had energy. I wasn't starving for food. Like, I felt good. And I thought that I can keep this up even longer. And then things started to change. So I wasn't really cleaning anything out of my body. Like, my bowel movements were regular. They weren't crazy excessive. Like, I wasn't, like, you know, like people tell you to be prepared when you do cleanse to be in the bathroom. Like, you're going to drink this juice and then you're just going to be on the toilet, okay? You're going to be releasing things you didn't know were inside of your body. All the toxins, all the waste, all the whatever, okay? The backstock. Like, you are going to feel brand new, okay? I wasn't doing that. I was just using the bathroom like regular. Like, not even like excessive, like how it would be as a person with IBS. So I was like, that's not happening. But I was pretty sure I altered my microbiome because in the midst of the juice cleanse, I had incorporated smoothies and my gas was atrocious. Like, to say, like, that's putting it mildly. Like, my gas was constant. Like, no matter what I did, I always had gas, and the smell was disrespectful. I was eating so clean or drinking so clean, right? I was putting all of these good fruits and veggies into my body to heal it, to reset it, to revive it. And it was throwing back some nasty work. And it's so embarrassing, like, you can't go anywhere. You can't go out to eat because you fear, like, you're going to, consume something and then your body is just gonna expel like the most disgusting thing that you can think of. And it doesn't make sense because you're not ingesting anything bad. You're eating all the right things. You're drinking all the right things. And your body is just like, nah. I will probably never do a cleanse again because of that. Just because of that. Like, I felt good otherwise. Like, my energy was good. I had clarity. My skin was glowing. Like, physically, I looked good. And I started incorporating the smoothies and, like, raw fruits and veggies and stuff, like salads, because I was losing weight and I didn't want to lose weight. That wasn't the purpose of the cleanse. So I did start, like, incorporating little things. But, like, what my body gave me back was just disrespectful. So anyway, after that, I had to refeed my body. And that's another thing I should have researched ahead of doing the cleanse, because if you haven't been eating, your body now has to be like reintroduced to things essentially. So this was a lengthy and annoying process. I do think that the juicing helped curb the constipation, because as long as I juiced like before or during my cycle, like I was able to be regular during like my period, which constipation was like avid during my period, and to the point where I was just like not pooping for days. So again, I know I told you a lot of TMI. All right, we're in this together now. You're still listening, so buckle up, sweetheart. Buckle up. Okay. So other than that, I was still having digestive issues. So at the beginning of 2024, I finally had my first MRI, my first imaging. I had ultrasounds before, I've mentioned them before, but I had the MRI, and that showed something that changed the game for me. Okay, my endometriosis had tethered itself to my rectum, aka endometriosis of the bowel. Okay, this whole time that I'm being told I have IBS, you have IBS, you have IBS, you have IBS. No, I have endometriosis on my bowel. I literally have lesions disrupting my booty hole. So ladies, if you have endometriosis and you have digestive issues, I would ask for imaging because it may not be IBS. Okay, ask for the imaging, get the blood work done too, but like you have to, I'll have to do maybe a separate video on like when to get certain blood work done, because that's important too, which I'm just now learning. I'm learning a lot of things as I go because I have to, because I go for help with the people who are supposed to be knowledgeable in these things, and they're not giving me any help. So now I have to take matters into my own hands, look up the help myself, and then go back to them and say, hey, this is what I need. And they're like, oh yeah, we can do that. And it's like, hello, is anyone there? All right. Anyway, get the imaging done, get the blood work done, because it might not be IBS. You might have endometriosis that has infiltrated other organs, infiltrated other parts of your body that is affecting your digestive system. So I don't understand why doctors are so hell-bent on not looking at the full scope of our issues. But time and time again, we have to go through so much before we actually figure out what's wrong. And then we have to go through so much to actually fix what's wrong. So now, here we are in 2025. I have yet to address the tethering situation, which I'm now pretty sure is affecting my bladder. And I am considering surgery because of how much the endo is infiltrating my body. So as you know, in January, I had an infection that led to the discovery of an 8-centimeter cyst on my ovary. And all of these things are interconnected with each other, amidst like the fibroids that I have and the polyp that they discovered when I had the HSG procedure. So like there's a lot going on inside. And so I'm at the point now where I have to consider surgery to remove these things from my body. In the meantime though, I saw a thread where women with endo of the bowels described what it feels like to use the bathroom. And I felt so seen. They mentioned things like knives and glass, and oops, prayers up to y'all, because I don't know how y'all do that. But one comment that stood out for me was hot lava poops. So while I still have to deal with the hot lava poops and the abdominal cramping, thankfully, I do believe that this last hospital bout helped curb the gas issues, okay? My gut was reset once again because I went through pretty much a fast for the entire month of January because I wasn't eating anything. And my gas issues have subsided immensely. I haven't had any issues since. So I'm praying that that is the case. It's funny because I know last year, I remember I was sitting on my couch asking God to take away the smelly gas because it's so embarrassing. It's so inconvenient. Like, I don't understand why it's there. Like, I'm eating so clean and so well, but I didn't expect to have to go through all of that to get to where I am now. Be careful what you pray for. Be careful what you ask for, because God gonna do it, but he gonna do it in his own way every single time. So I guess there's a silver lining somewhere. But overall, I still have to have my digestion addressed because this isn't sustainable, right? I can't be having hot lava poops every day, and I haven't had anything spicy. So make it make sense. please. And I hope that if you're having digestive issues, that you seek a naturopathic doctor or naturopathic doctor, however you pronounce that, or a nutritionist, and definitely request imaging. I think it can make all the difference in how you choose to move forward. Okay? That wasn't too much TMI, I don't think. I think like it was a healthy balance of fact and story time and descriptiveness. Maybe. You guys let me know in the comments how you feel. If you deal with endometriosis of the bowel, let me know. If you've been told time and time again that you have IBS, let me know, because it might not be IBS. There are differences. It's important to note that. It's important to advocate for yourself and always ask questions and challenge these doctors, okay? Because this GI doctor who told me to take the stool softener when all I needed to do was juice to relieve the constipation, like, it's just simple things sometimes, okay? God gave us all of these resources on earth that we can use for our bodies, and it's time to kind of dive into that and learn more about these herbs and learn more about the foods and how everything just works together for your good. And that's that. Okay, let's get into our affirmation. Tough times don't last. Tough people do. That's a quote by Robert Schuller. I don't know if he's a problematic white man, but preferably he's not. But we're just going to go on with the affirmation. So say it with me. Tough times don't last. Tough people do. All right. I love you. I see you and I hear you. Peace. Hey BFFs, thanks for tuning in to Dear Aunt Flo. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to show support, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review on Apple Podcasts. This will help more period BFFs find our community and add to the conversation. Follow on IG at dearauntflo.pod and let me know what topics you'd like to cover this season. Catch you in the next episode, period.